Thanks, Dan. It's delightful to be doing this Earthcast with you and with Marsha, my friends and colleagues over at ISSP. We have very complementary tools and processes. They overlap, but in ways that are mostly additive. So it's good sequencing here for me to be speaking after her as well. I'm going to walk you all through a quick summary, essentially, of the methodologies that we use. And when I say methodology, it's one of those big words that was invented by academics mostly to maybe mystify things. And actually, what we're trying to do is demystify things with the ISIS method and make sustainable development much more approachable and intuitive. Sustainable development is not simple in any context: business, organizational life, in regional planning. It's a complicated affair, and so it needs some useful simplification that's still grounded in a robust approach, and that's what we've been trying to do at the AtKisson Group for some time. And why we're trying to do that is evident on this screen. This is a collection of trends that were published by the International Geosphere Biosphere Program here in Stockholm, just showing that we are on a really rapid, transformative ride into the future here with all of these growth trends in everything from population to the increasing number of, the upper right-hand there says McDonald's restaurants, believe it or not. An esteemed international board of scientists use that as an indicator of some really transformative processes that are happening that, for good and or ill, and it's a bit of both, but we certainly are on a rocket, and we need to make some pretty dramatic shifts in the way we do our planning, do our management, to stop the destructive parts of that ride and to make the best of the positive ones. That's what we're trying to do with this methodology, and here it is in brief. In an action cycle, starting from the bottom, actually, counting up, we start with the idea that basically you do need to understand some basic things about systems, that there are systems, that things are connected. And while that may sound obvious to a lot of people on this call, I can tell you that it's not obvious out there in the real world. And a lot of people working in corporations and businesses and organizations who really desperately need to understand systems have just not been exposed to it, have not been given a chance to really explore the causal relationships between different parts of their enterprise, for example. There's a lot of silo mentality, not just in the research world, but very much in the corporate world as well. And this is something we work with a lot to help build bridges between departments, between sectors, and then understand what sustainability means in that context, as well as what it means to develop as opposed to grow. I mean, not everything has to grow. Some things have to change, and that's called development. So that's the knowledge piece of what we're working with. And then we come into the actual process we call ISIS, indicators, systems, innovation, and strategy. That sequence sounds very linear, but in fact, in reality, it's not so linear. It's very iterative. The sequencing helps people keep track of where they're at and get to a point of action that's based very solidly on systems and a good understanding of the information about their system, a good view of the possible innovations, all kinds of innovations, changes in technology, changes in rules, changes in mindsets that need to occur, and then the strategy for implementing those. And it's just the pieces that are new to this out of a traditional action cycle are, in fact, that systems and innovation piece and the understanding of sustainability that's at the heart of it. And otherwise, it is that normal cycle of monitoring and adaptation to adjust and move forward. So ISIS, of course, those of you who have read my book, The ISIS Agreement, will know that we're also referring here playfully to an Egyptian goddess. I won't tell you that story now on this webcast, but I will refer you to it. It's an interesting mythology for people working with sustainability issues in any context, having to essentially move fairly systematically and thoughtfully, and sometimes even a bit sneakily into a system to help make a change. But in any case, we're simplifying really loads of theory and lots of practical experience based on lots of people's work over years now into these four concepts of indicators, systems, innovation, and strategy. And there's a real simple way of putting this method to work right away. Indicators find out where you're going and where you are now and where you're headed. Systems start asking why and make the connections upstream and downstream as far as you need to understand why. Innovation, identifying what you can do, and there, again, thinking very broadly, not just jumping to your favorite solution, but really doing a serious review of the best and better and good practices, as well as inventing new stuff if need be to reach that goal that Marsha was talking about of ultimate sustainability. And then finally, of course, good strategy, because I have experienced anyway that a lot of people working on sustainability may have very good groundings in things like the science of climate change and not such good groundings in basic strategic techniques to achieve goals. So we include that in the ISIS package.